people that my wife and I followed for our journey to becoming expats is on with us. We have Mitch from the Young Black Expats with us. And
In the
today we're
house.
going to be Y.B.E. in the building. we're
Oh
we're
man.
going to be discussing today, some follow up um, points on some things that I got on the live and discuss about my personal experience. And this is talking about the reentry shock that we experienced. But please like and subscribe. Please share this video. Don't forget to ring the bell and get more and more updates from the Black UGs. Now, again, just want to give a salute to you, Mitch. Man, we appreciate the vibe that you've been giving us for years now. You know what I mean? The
Thanks, man.
information that you provided, man, you've been an invaluable source for our journey and for my sons and my wife, man. We just thank God for you and what you've been able to provide us and kind of giving us some heads ups on some things that we ran into. And so just want to kind of touch on like the
First,
first time I met you. You was in what
right.
country was you in?
We was in Medellin, but first I want to say big shots out to you, the Black UGs, man. I mean, for taking your family, and I mean, you moved to multiple countries. You
Yeah,
know, opened up businesses.
yes, sir.
You from Panama to Medellin, Colombia, from there
Yeah,
to Mexico, from there to
yeah.
Portugal.
Nicaragua,
You know what I mean?
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua, yeah, Nicaragua,
Yeah,
yeah. So I
yeah,
appreciate, and you have two sons. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And
Salute King, man.
right, right. I appreciate you and
Thanks, man.
Queen Quilla, yeah, the Queen and your family. So much
Thanks
big
so much,
props
man.
to you, man. Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
man. It's when we went embarked upon this journey, we were looking for it wasn't real like popular right at the time. Actually, you and maybe two or three other people that were black were actually putting out content
Right.
about the expat experience, and we found you, and you were in Medellin. I guess you had just left. What country did you come from? First? Like,
Costa Rica.
how
Costa
long were you
Rica.
in
So
Costa Rica?
so we was in Costa Rica for 3 years.
For
Yep.
3 years. Wow.
3 years, and how YB began was, we were trying to figure out countries where people lived at, but we didn't see it from a black perspective. So when we went over
Right.
there, I'm like, okay, well, I just had one of those Sony cameras. I'm like, look, I'm just going to go ahead and shoot this and tell it from our perspective. You know what I mean? So it was just
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that was simple, because I saw that no one was living there, like was really speaking from our view. Like some of the things that we
Right.
go through or different
Right.
people go through, we already know. It's just a different type of flavor, So when
It
I
is
start
absolutely
doing that, it was, I didn't realize how big that was, because people usually visit countries. We were actually living in the country. So
right.
sort of like, I appreciate all the people who take their families to do so. I mean, shout
Yeah.
out. So we did that, and God has blessed us to just to share that experience, so many others can do the same.
Well, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you definitely from that journey was you were an inspiration, a point of reference
Right.
for my wife and I. We actually went to Panama. It's like the bordering country to Costa Rica, and also bordering Colombia as well. And so we found you, and you guys were kind of laying it out on what life was like in Medellin. And so we were just like, hey, let's give it a shot. Like we see some
Right.
black
Right.
people here. Let's do it. So,
Right. Right. It was dope, man.
and,
When you meet the
yeah,
dames, I remember we met y'all. We went to the mall. We
yeah.
went to the mall because y'all moved right by the mall. Where was it? Uni Central?
It was we was actually in Conquistadores
Yeah,
by Lorales, so
Conquistador.
by the end of the century.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Right.
Went over
Yep.
to
And
the crepes and waffles joint.
yep, crepes and waffles. Yep. So we vibed and kicked it, and it was just dope, man. And it was so refreshing that I'm like, God, they move. Okay, it's a lot of people like us. They want
Yeah,
to move. They have different reasons. They're on a leap of faith. They, whatever the situation is, they were tired of that situation. They
Hmm.
wanted to do this, and like you said, the worst thing that can happen is for you moving back. And it was this dope. Like you, I bet you have a whole different perspective of how life is now, and
Oh,
especially for
absolutely.
your kids, man. Especially for the
Oh,
two boys.
absolutely, absolutely. In fact, you know, with going abroad, it definitely stretches your understanding, I guess, a bit to where it really can't go back to what it was. Right? You're
Right,
just different.
right,
Right? You're
right,
you're different, and trying to put words to that is like really difficult sometimes.
right,
But you just see things differently. You see more, and you consider more. Outside
right.
of just a U.S. perspective. And now I want to
Exactly.
ask you, when you did leave the U.S., what was like the key component for you leaving? Like, what was the deciding factor for you?
Life, time, life. Like
Hmm.
this goal. Like, okay, like do something above the norm. Like what is the worst thing that can happen you move into a different country? Like you can move back. At the time
Right.
me and Donna didn't have any kids. We didn't have Sila at the
Mhm.
time. And it was
Right.
something that, in our business, we decided to start a home-based business before, like be
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs before, so it can
Mm-hmm.
give us that freedom to do so. So we had a great month, and we were like, okay, well, let's go ahead and do and just move and see what it is.
Yeah.
And like I said, the worst thing that can happen is you moving back, and especially for us being in environments in the United States. Like sometimes we grew up in situations where it's violence everywhere. Like
Right.
we know, most of us. I'm not sure for you, but like in my situation, I know where to be at. I know where not to be. So
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I'm not afraid of that. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
not afraid to move and look at different perspectives of life. So we just
Exactly.
decided to do so. We just decided to do
Yeah.
so. And I thank God that we took that chance on doing it.
Excellent. Now, let me ask you this, and we are going to kind of segue into Medellin and then Puerto Rico. But I wanted to
Okay.
ask you, up from your experience in traveling in the years abroad, how many years were you living abroad?
Say that again.
How many years did you spend living abroad?
Oh, so we spent a total of almost 5 years.
5
Almost
years.
5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
So we did the
Now,
three. Yeah.
so you did three in Costa Rica,
Right.
and
A
and
year in
a year.
Medellin.
Okay.
Yep. And then almost a year in Puerto Rico
Okay.
before we right.
Now, from your experience, knowing that again you've been stretched, right?
Hmm.
Your perspective has been stretched. When you went to Puerto Rico, you had a very interesting experience,
Right.
and I can honestly say that from what I've observed, that experience has just given you a root. You know what I mean? Not that you didn't have one previously, but it's just really deeper. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I
Right.
wanted to know if would you feel comfortable talking about that experience?
Yeah, well, when we went to Puerto Rico, we ran right into Irma and Maria. So it was just like a crash course.
The hurricanes.
We didn't know that we were going to experience that, but that was something that we needed to go through.
Yeah. Hmm.
And at that time, how bad it was always something good that you can bring out of it. From our experience, we had like the people of Puerto Rico was just, I mean, they were just, us, where we really move. When we move into like really the areas, the neighborhoods. It's not really a tourist area. It's like neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We
So
live
when
with
we got
people.
to
Yeah.
that point, I mean, it was just like people, community was, after those devastating hurricanes, it was like people was pulling each other together. Like I met friends now. I have a friend, Felix. He's a chef,
Hmm.
but he was our next door neighbor. I mean, he was so nice. Him and his wife and his mom. Like they didn't know us. Like they told us to come over. They made us coffee. Then they cooked for us. He cooked for us and sent it over to our house. Like I mean,
Wow.
bonds like that.
Yeah.
Bonds like just picking, for people just really looking out for you. Like just doing anything that they can. I had a guy, our next door neighbor, he was a doctor, right?
Right.
And he lived in Cuba, but he was from Cuba, but he lived in Miami.
Okay.
And he knew, like, when that hurricane hit, it was no water for a couple of weeks the first time, and there was no electricity.
Right.
And at that time, the lady that we were renting the apartments from, she
Hmm.
did not have a generator at all. So he knew, like, the people next door, like the next door neighbors were kind of rich, they were like the rich type of. So
Right.
he managed to get the a cable cord from the generator from there and hook it up into his house. But he knocked on our door. He knew we had a daughter. He was like, look, get an extra cord so your daughter can have fan, some air, because it's hot
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, and it's a lot of mosquitoes. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
and I'm like, dang. So, and also, this guy, he didn't know. He was like, do you need to use my car? And I'm like, you don't even know
Wow.
me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you don't
Right.
even know me. He's like, man, go ahead. If you need to use my car. So he allowed me to use, he took me where I needed to go. He
Right.
also took me, and you might remember this. He took me because the phone services was down,
I remember.
right? So
Yeah.
people was
Yeah.
like, oh my God. So a phone company called Claro was the
Oh
only
yeah.
company that had service, but you had to go towards like 45 minutes away.
Ooh.
And that guy took me, like, because he couldn't get gas. Like, gas was scarce. Like, people were waiting all day just to get a couple gallons of gas.
Wow.
So he took me all the way there to make that phone call. I remember talking to you. And a
Yeah.
big shout out to the Black UGs, because they, Omar was like, what you need us to do? You know what
Right
I mean?
there.
So Omar was right there, like, here, we're going to get you out. And I always appreciate that, Aquila and the family. Thank you so
Absolutely,
much.
bro.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
Without a doubt.
so yeah, we was at that, and he took me all the way down there just to, he's sacrificing on his gas and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
that's just some of the things that we had experiences with, you know what I
That's
mean, as far as being over there. So we knew the significance of people bonding together and getting together, and it was just like family and community. And even in this horrible event that just happened,
right.
everybody was outside. We were figuring out how to put the lights on. People were playing,
Mm.
like, hopscotch, the kids. And then you got a dude, like, a guy was so nice, and he was cutting hair, but he was so creative. He was using the electricity from his car and cutting hair. It was
Oh
just it was
wow.
just fantastic, man. Yeah.
Uh,
So
that's amazing,
in
man.
that sense, it was horrible. It was
Yeah.
horrible how everything was, but in that sense, we always respect Puerto Rico for that.
That's amazing. So you had access into experience, humanity really at its best, right? In the midst of
Right.
a
Right.
crisis, you know,
Humanity at its
and
best. Right.
how community just pulled you in, even though you weren't necessarily a part of the community, you were there,
Right.
so you were equal. And so that's an amazing story, and I really wanted you to have the opportunity to share that. And I was hoping
Thank you. I
to see if
appreciate it.
you would. Oh, absolutely. I wanted to see if you could possibly contrast that with your experience, with your reentry experience back into the United States.
Okay. Well, from there, it was like, basically, and it was funny because a lot of expats that we know, it
Hmm.
was kind of like a tower moment. You know what I mean? Like, things were breaking down before it really broke down, because we
Yep.
had a chain of unfortunate events. Like, we went through that. Donna's mother died. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
we
I
had
remember
to
that.
actually. It was horrible. Like, we couldn't go
Yeah.
there, and then, as far as the businesses that we had, like, we had to pay through investments that we already had. You know what I mean? So we
Right.
couldn't do too much because the internet. So
Right.
it was this tower moments after one another, and it was like, okay, it was time for us to, whatever it is, like 2020 coming, you got to go back to the United States. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we
Right.
were like, okay, we went back to the United States, and you when I got there, and
Hmm.
I reached North Carolina, it was just such a depression.
Mm.
Like, people looked depressed, like, you know what I mean? And
Wow.
it was just such a depression. Like, you can really see the energy. you can really see it's like the
Visible, yeah.
United States when I first came back to the US, it was like a bad marriage.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like
It's a
you
great
can
analogy.
tell the tension. You can tell the tension in the air, but it was like a bad marriage. It
Wow.
was like, okay, you can really see it when you in a different perspective. So when I got there,
Right.
you know, I'm like, well, you know, I'm gonna stay a couple of months and
Right.
we going back, you know, we going back to our destination. But you know, God
Mhm.
had it where we, you know, chains of events. It was just shutdown after shutdown after shutdown. You know what I mean? And I'm
Right.
like, what is going on? Like I couldn't believe what was going on. So,
Now, did
but
you feel that you were the only person that this was happening to, or were other expat friends of yours experiencing similar things? Like, what was the
you know, it's funny because me and you was going through the same thing. You see,
Yep.
and then like different other expats was going through the same thing at the time. So I'm like, what is going on? Like, I couldn't
Right.
believe it. So after those change, you know, you get depressed. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, oh my God, now you're dealing with family and situations, and you know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, and but you know,
Wow.
I I decided once I got to the US, you know, and revised my game plan, and that's you
Mhm.
know, think about Y.B.E. I'm like, well, we're not living abroad right now, so it's like, well, why would they want to hear us right now at the time? Because we're not living abroad, you know what I mean? So it's
They
just
need to
like
though.
the Y.B.E. thing slipped away, you know what I mean? It was just like now we got to find what we needed to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In order
Yeah.
to get back.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Well,
so
I
it was
mean,
just you know,
I think that to address something you said, why would they, want to listen to you? Well, first and foremost, this is part of the experience, right? A lot of people
right,
that become expats, most don't just go and stay. There's
right,
usually go scout, check it out, come back,
right,
try it again, slow
right,
traveling, and then
right,
eventually do the expatriate things where they get residency or citizenship somewhere else.
right,
So, which is still a part of the expat experience. And that's why, I thought it prudent to discuss like, hey, this is what it's like when you re enter after being abroad, and you scoped out and you found out where you want to be, right? So you got to readjust some stuff because life is life and America is America. So you have to adjust with it, right? So for you to be able to go out and stay longer term, right? Well,
right,
there's some things that are involved in that, and I think that you definitely from what you experienced, even in the midst of an extreme natural disaster, right?
yeah.
In your description of that natural disaster, not once did I hear you say depressed.
Right.
Now you see
You
what I'm
know what?
saying?
Now that's great. Now that's great that you said that because later on I began to be depressed because I didn't want to be in the US. You know, I really wanted to be in different countries. I didn't know why these unexpected events were happening. You know, I'm
Hmm.
like, what is going on? It was like the tower moment. Like sometimes
Yeah,
a tower moment, if you don't know, like the tower knocks down to rebuild. And at
exactly.
that time, you know, you don't know why, but you got to let that process go through in order for you to rebuild. You know what I mean?
Right,
So at that time, I did, you know, I was cool because I already had a game plan. Like we're going back, you know,
right,
and we're going to keep we're going to keep everything flowing. But
right,
unfortunately, it didn't happen. You know, it
right.
was like a year, then we stayed the next year, and then after all of this in the midst, you know, we got the coronavirus. You know what I mean? It was like the
Coronavirus.
now the quarantine, now the
Right.
lockdown. So we was like, we were really getting locked
Yeah.
down before everybody else getting locked down. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was a complete tower moment. Like you know, things had to change. 2020 was about change,
Yep.
and it was about a massive change. And you know, it was just the way it is now. The good thing
Hmm.
is everything is building back to be beautiful.
I, I'm glad that you said that. I want to ask, what's next for you in your journey around the globe? Like, what's your objective? I know you've been able to map out some amazing plans. So what's next? Where do you hit next? What are you going to tackle next?
Okay, so that's a great question. When all of this clears, and fortunately we can get back to almost normal, normalcy. You know what I mean? So
Right.
almost. So I want to hit the motherland. I want to hit, that was the plan. Hit Africa for a second, and see
Yeah.
the beauty of Africa. We already been through Central South America. We already know what that was. I didn't want to do that again. I wanted to
Right.
do something where I wanted to find somewhere where I can
Mm.
really stay, like, focus and be like, well, this is going to be our base. You know what I mean? Like, this is
Right.
going to be the base. This is where I want to be. And then I can move from different places from that base. So
Right.
the
Now
motherland is definitely
you've
on my
already
radar.
visited Africa before, right?
I visited Africa. Yeah. So we wanted to, at the time, wanted to, make sure we found a country that we really was interested in Africa, and we
Hmm.
wanted to really go ahead and go there, you know.
Excellent.
So
Now,
yeah,
now let
so
me
I'm
ask you
still
this:
gonna visit. Right.
you're still gonna visit?
Yeah, I'm still, and I might, depending on, I might move out there, So yeah.
Excellent. Well, I mean, Africa's blowing up right now. I mean, I think a lot of people are turning their eyes to Africa and seeing past, the brainwashing that was, happening to us since our childhood about the continent. And people are really, showing a lot of interest, and there's like a lot of growth and development, even in reference to people from the diaspora repatriating back to Africa. So that that you'll be in prime positioning, So that's
Right,
amazing. Now, listen,
right,
one thing I wanted to definitely get from you. I can't let you go without picking your brain. Okay.
right.
Every time we talk, I'm gonna have to learn something from you. So listen, do you have any tips for aspiring expats, new expats that are considering? I mean, with this whole COVID situation, a lot of people, there was a tremendous amount of depression that happened, especially with a lot of the violence that we've seen on black and brown bodies, with black and brown women being attacked and things like that. So people are looking, right? They're looking
Right,
for options outside
right.
of what they've been pre-exposed to. So, do you have any tips for anyone that may be considering an expat journey?
Great. So the tip is, based on your experience, what do you have to be afraid of?
Mhm.
Make sure, you don't have to do what we did. We did the extreme. You know what I mean? We
Right.
just sold everything and went. But
Right.
take baby steps. Like if you're someone who's very cautious,
Mhm.
go and visit. Then after that, go and stay a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Go
Slow
and get
travel, yeah.
connected with
Mhm.
different countries. Go and do so, because once you do that, your mind opens to different environments and different perspectives. Like, you
Good.
might have this perspective because you're in an environment that you have to adapt to. But once you over somewhere else and you see the different environment and the different perspectives, now
Mhm.
you can open your mind to different, like, you're going to see things completely different. So
Right.
once you get back, if you get back to the environment that you were in before you change your perspective,
Mhm.
you're going to see what needs to be fixed in that country, in the country that you left.
Right.
You're going to see the gap holes.
Mhm.
You're going to change your mind on how you feel.
That's
It
real.
just is.
Yep.
And then you can leave it up to you if you want to leave or not, but you did it. At least you did it. Like, especially for me, like, I'm just the type of person that I think I think beauty and time is just to experience God's world. You know what I mean? Like, go out
Right.
and see the beauty. But that's the real education. Just go out there. Like, my mind will be forever changed.
That's
Forever
right.
changed, man.
That's
I
what's up.
look at things, I look at people I know, I done met, we done did some beauty. I mean, the beauty of just traveling and eating
Mhm.
different foods, and know how their community is, and
Yep.
how their family structure is. It's just better for
Right.
us. We can take those things that we experience and come back and make our situation better.
I love that. I never heard that perspective. Just even the fact of going and living abroad, experiencing that, and then bringing those good things back to your
And
own community.
changing.
That's an
Right.
excellent perspective. I never heard
Right.
that. you know. Well, listen, Mitch, man. Look, I love you, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
We, gonna always ride from the womb to the tomb, homie.
Right.
But I definitely want to give you an opportunity to let everybody know how they can get in touch with you. Where they can find out. Find your content. It's still
Right.
absolutely 100% invaluable, man. So I want you to be
Right.
able to share that.
Right. Yeah. What I want you to do is, we're not really active in Y.B.E, but there's still valuable tools that you
Yes,
can go on Young Black Expats, because that be forever a milestone for people to go off of.
yes,
I just started my own channel because I do trucking now, So it's called The Loam, The Life of Mitch. It's THEL.O.M. And you can go on. So I'm just
alone.
starting it now. So you can go on it on iTunes. I mean, not iTunes, I'm sorry, IG, YouTube. So I'll be just about me, about my experience, about
Yeah,
my relationships, just
excellent.
get in depth about trucking, a little bit about everything about me. So yeah,
Okay.
so they can reach me by there.
Excellent, excellent. And listen, now, here's the thing. I'm definitely gonna have you back on because this
Oh
is
yeah,
just
sure,
one,
man.
one dynamic. But I definitely want to appreciate you again. We're the Black UGs, guys. Please
Right.
like, subscribe, share, ring the bell. We will have more and more content being made available to you. Again, this is my brother, my friend Mitchell with Expats in the Loan, and
YB.
want to give you guys a shout out. Happy Sunday. Y'all keep your heads
Thank you.
together, stay focused, and keep that mental health in check. Love y'all. Peace.
That's right. Love you. Take care. Bye.